Hey everyone, welcome back to another exciting video of Gardening and Crocs. Today we're going to discuss 5 different plants that I will grow in my garden every year. Hands down, no questions asked. Also give you some tips on growing these plants. Let's start with number 1, green beans. These are super easy to grow. I always direct sow them outside in a raised bed. I also plant them close enough to form a canopy over the top of the soil. Does a couple things. One, it keeps the weeds from growing, and two, it keeps the soil pretty moist. Um, these are super easy to process. We have not bought store beans for probably over 3 years. We like to can ours, and it's really easy to do. You just pick them, stem them, snap them, pack them in a jar, put a little bit of salt in there, add your water, throw them in the canner. Now you do need to use a pressure canner for this because they do not have enough acidity to be able to be water bath. A couple other ways we like to process these is just simply a ham, onion, and beans. We like to eat this several times during the summer, and we'll even eat this several times in the winter. We like to fry them in some olive oil, and naturally we just cook them up and eat them fresh. So a couple tips with the beans. One, the more that you harvest, the more they will grow and keep producing. Two, uh, you could save your seeds from the beans. If you let a few go and they get dried out, save those seeds. You can plant them in the ground, and a new bean plant will grow next year. 3, we have grown pole beans before, and what we've done with those is we just let those simply dry out on the pole or on the trellis, and we go through, harvest them, shell them, and dry them up, and we use those for dry beans. Number 2 on my list has got to be carrots. Now, these were not as easy as the beans to grow. This took me about 2 years to get right. I do sow my seeds outside. The seeds are really small. They do like loose soil. The seeds need to be keep moist when you are letting them germinate. So a lot of times, what I will do is I will sprinkle them over the surface of the bed, just gently, very gently, rub them into the bed, and then put some cardboard over the bed for about 10 days, maybe a week and a half or so, and then I'll pull the cardboard up whenever I notice. I'll keep peeking at the cardboard. I'll pull it up when I notice that they're starting germinating, and remove the cardboard. Another thing with these is you can take these seeds and just scatter them out into the raised bed. There's no need for rows or anything of that matter in this. You will probably have to thin these out as you want the bigger roots to grow. I found also that when you plant these in late summer, early fall, they do the best because they will grow into winter. They are frost hardy, and the roots tend to, for me, the roots, the actual carrot will grow a lot bigger. I'm assuming that's just because of the fall weather. And then after you get a couple frost on them, the carrots do get sweeter. So these are easy to can. I have not had to buy these from the store for about 2 years. It does require a pressure canner. I usually tend to wash them off, peel them, cut them, throw them in the jar, put a little tiny bit of salt, add your water, and then put them in the pressure canner. We can eat them raw, and we eat them cooked fresh a lot. My favorite variety is the Nanette cordless. I harvested mine last year. I harvested them in about the middle of December. We didn't have a real hard freeze until then, and I canned them then as well. Crop number 3, sweet potatoes. These, once you get the slip started, these are super easy to grow, and you can get the slips for free if you have a grocery store sweet potato. Take that guy and start in early March. Bury them into a tray. I'll show you some information on this. And sooner or later, after a few weeks, you'll start getting roots, and then in a few weeks you'll start getting some shoots that will come up. Those shoots are going to develop into your sweet potato starts or sweet potato slips. What you'll then do is cut those slips off, throw them in a glass of water, put that in the sunny window seal. You'll see it start seeing some roots coming off those stems. After the roots come off the stems, you can plant them into some a good potting soil and start growing your plant like you would uh, a normal plant. Once it gets warm, key for these guys is it has to be warm. Once it gets warm, you will put them out in your garden and let them grow. Keep them watered, keep them fertilized. You'll have vines going everywhere. You can take those vines and pile them on top of each other. Last year, we grossed about 70 pounds of sweet potatoes in a 4x4 bed. I think I planted anywhere from 12 to 16 plants. So we got sweet potatoes coming out the wazoo. Once you harvest those sweet potatoes, you do have to cure them. That takes about 2 weeks. Last year, I just kept them in a wheelbarrow in my garage, and because it was still warm and pretty humid out, I kept them in there for about 2 weeks. Then I took them, I boxed them up, brought them down to my basement, and here they sit in a cold, dark place. A couple of the recipes that we use these sweet potatoes for. We use them for sweet potato hash. We use it for sweet potato soup. We do sweet potato fries. We just do a regular sweet potato. We just cook it, throw it in the oven, top it with some butter and some brown sugar. That's real good as well. We also do a sweet potato casserole that's got all the toppings and everything else on it as well. So definitely, I would try sweet potatoes. It is almost April here, and we still have some left. Those guys are still good. We just made some sweet potato hash last week, actually. So number 4, which is a definite, always a must, is tomatoes. We use so many tomato products in our house. Um, we plant both determinate and indeterminate tomatoes. Now, the difference between those two is a determinate tomato gets to a determined amount of size, and then it starts putting out fruit all at once. So you can determine when the date is ready for the fruit. When you do an indeterminate tomato, that just keeps on growing and growing and growing until something kills it, whether it be blight, frost, or a not so green thumb, or a golden doodle. I've had that happen before as well. But those guys will just keep growing and growing and growing and producing fruit over and over and over again. I like to grow both varieties. The determinate is great for canning because you get all your harvest all at once, and you'll have everything ready to go. The indeterminates are good because then you can separate your canning out as well over the space of years. There are so many varieties to grow. We have in the past I've grown Sans Marizano, Romas, Kellogg's Breakfast, Early Doll, Early Girl, Sun Gold Cherry, which is an excellent cherry tomato. Other cherry tomatoes, beefsteaks, Rutgers. New this year, I am going to try a Black Beauty, which is kind of a black or purple tomato, and a red sausage tomato. These guys are so easy to process. You can even do water bath with these if you do not have a canner. That process is really simple as well. We tend to can a lot of these guys. We'll make them into sauces like Italian sauce, a Mexican sauce, a Cajun sauce, a spaghetti sauce. I've done tomato soup with them before, salsa. We just do chunk tomatoes. I like to do that for my chilies and different things like that. And we, of course, eat juice. And we like to eat these fresh. Slice them up, put them on a hamburger is real good, or slice them up and just eat them raw with maybe a little bit of salt is real good. So for tomatoes, you always want to start your seeds, if you're growing from seeds, start them about 6 to 8 weeks indoors before your last frost date. Um, After a while, you'll have to up pot these. If you watch a couple of my previous videos, you'll see me up potting some plants. When you do these, you can bury these down deep so that way the stem will grow roots and it'll produce a bigger mass of roots for you. You want to plant these outside after the last threat of frost. Sometimes a week or two after your last frost date is very wise to do that. Again, plant them deep when you plant them outside. Throw a little fertilizer in there. And then after a while, you're going to have to trellis or cage them. What I've found really helpful and handy has been these cattle panels. Just get a big cattle panel with 2 T-posts set up and just trellis your tomatoes on there. Of course, you'll want to prune off any suckers that you have. That'll keep the plant from getting too bushy and also help you produce more fruit. I've also trellised these up a single guide wire up, and that takes a lot of pruning for that. Another trick for these: when you're harvesting your tomatoes, if you don't have enough to can or you don't have the time to can them, freeze them. Throw them in 5 gallon or throw them in a gallon zipper lock bag. Throw them in the freezer and let them freeze. I found out that this last year when I did this, it helped tremendously on my time. Helped me to manage my time tremendously. It also made things a lot easier. I found whenever I went to go skin the tomatoes, it was super easy just to get the skins off, just because they were frozen and then they thawed. It seemed like the skin separated from the tomato from the meat quite a bit. Another thing about this was I got lazy and I started canning tomatoes here in February because I didn't have time when the weather was warm and everything. Whenever it was cold and dreary, I was able to sit there and I was able to make several, like 25 pints of sauce this last February, which was awesome. Okay, let's move on to number 5. Number 5 is not necessarily a single plant, but something that I would recommend everybody to get started, and that is your perennials, or stuff that is always going to be out there. Once you plant them, you just have to maintain them and keep them going from year to year to year. They're very, very, very little work. Um, some things that I've got in my garden that are like that are blueberries, asparagus, an apple tree, peach tree, strawberries, blackberries, and elderberries. So I hope that you find this list very helpful and very informative. If you haven't already, if you like these videos, click thumbs up, subscribe, comment with any comments. If you guys got anything else, what other comment actually on what other vegetables you like to grow in your garden, and what are your top 5 musts and keeps. I've left several of them out here today, trying to just keep this video short and sweet. So again, comment, like, and subscribe. Cheers, everybody. Take care.